in 2017, let's talk about some of the things that are happening here at home. In 2017, where you were a national security advisor at the time, I believe, you gave this quote to the Washington Post. You said, "One thing I think few people will think about, but truthfully keeps me up at night, the risk of a major pandemic disease outbreak." That kept you up in 2017. How are you sleeping these days?
Not very well, Stephen. Look, I said that this was one of my last days in the White House, right before we handed over to the Trump administration. I was meeting with a group of reporters, and they asked me, what do you worry about most that other Americans may not be focused on? And I said the threat of a global pandemic, because I have known, and many experts in national security and global health and development have known, that this was inevitable. The only thing we didn't know precisely was when it would hit and what type of disease it would be. So this is about as bad as it could get, bar one scenario, Stephen, which is if this were like an avian flu that was even more deadly. Some of these avian flu viruses are just as transmissible as COVID, but they can kill 50 or more % of the people who contract it. So this is bad. It's really bad, but it could be worse. And the lack of preparedness on the part of this administration and the bungling of this every step of the way, I think willful bungling in some regards, is killing Americans.
After working on the U.S. response to Ebola, you oversaw something called the Pandemic Preparedness Office, which President Stable Genius disbanded. And then when this hit, said no one could have seen this coming. How do you feel when you hear him say no one could have seen this coming when you personally worked on preparing for this?
It makes my head want to explode. The President of the United States got up in front of the American people on March 19th of this year and said nobody could have seen this coming. Who could have predicted? Well, George W. Bush's administration predicted. The Joe Biden administration predicted. We all knew it was coming. And they not only disbanded the office that I set up in the National Security Council, they not only discarded the pandemic playbook we handed them and all the lessons of the tabletop exercises that we conducted during the transition. They then denied the severity of it. Donald Trump compared it to the flu, said it would miraculously go away when the weather warmed up. And every step of the way, from testing to setting up a sufficient capacity in our hospitals, to acquiring ventilators and PPE, to reopening prematurely, to telling our kids and our teachers to go back to school when it's unsafe. He has put his personal political interests ahead of the health and the security and the economy of the United States.